Good afternoon. Thank you for inviting me. So the title of my speech is, as Rakesh said, how to change the way plastics and fiber are produced to meet two objectives: to reduce CO2 emission and to reduce pollution, of course. So I'm Martin Stephan, Deputy CEO of Carbios. I'm neither a chemist nor a biologist. And like a lot of you here today, I'm not a scientist, so I will do my best to explain what we are doing with my words. So do not hesitate to ask even scientific questions, and I will try to answer them. I don't know if you are familiar with those numbers, but it's big. So more than 300 million metric tons of plastics are produced every year in the world. So it's a lot. We estimate that 9 million metric tons of plastic waste are ending up in the oceans every year. 90% of that is already in the bottom of the ocean. So it's probably not very useful to try to collect them because it's gone. So it's better to really turn the tap off and make that those plastic waste do not end up in the environment, because once it's in the environment, it's too late. And that's really what we are trying to do as Carbios, is to give value to wastes so that they don't end up in the environment, but they end up as a valuable raw material to produce new plastics and to avoid CO2 emissions when producing plastics and fibers. Today we are focusing on a material which is called PET, polyethylene terephthalate. It's very well known as the plastic for bottles and trays, food trays, but it's also the polyester of textile. When you see polyester on a garment, it's the exact same material. It's PET. It's a vast polymer. It's produced probably today 90 million metric tons per year, so 90. Second largest polymer after polyethylene, which is a polyolefin. Approximately 2/3 of the production goes into fibers and 1/3 goes into packaging, mostly bottles, but not only. Shampoo containers, detergent containers, food containers, as I said. And what we really want to do is, instead of using only the bottles, the beverages bottles, which today are more or less recycled or reused at least, we want to really open the field and be able to use any kind of PET waste to make any kind of PET product. By doing that, according to preliminary data, we save 50% CO2 emission compared to a virgin plastic or fiber, which is produced using oil as a raw material and which will end up landfilled or incinerated. So if you compare the use of plastic waste with our technology to make the same exact plastic or fiber, we save 50% of CO2, which is a lot. And it's based on preliminary data. So those data will be refined as we move, as we improve the technology. And we are confident that this will continue to improve as we move on the experience curve of our technology. We are building today, we will start building soon. We are studying the construction of a 50,000 ton plant, 50,000 ton of plastic waste to produce approximately 45,000 ton of virgin material, or virgin quality material. This will be done in France, in the east part of France, on a chemical site, using probably a radius of 500 kilometers to collect waste from any kind of source, not only plastic bottles, but as I said, a lot of different waste. And this will save the equivalent of 45,000 tons of CO2. We've been labeled solar impulse efficient solution, which is a pretty good label for this kind of technology. So what is the technology? As I said, it's a biological technology. So we had the idea to combine biology and plastics or chemistry and to really make our research at the edge of those two sciences. And that's really at the edge of two sciences like that innovation appears. So we have the idea to use a biological catalyst, an enzyme, to trigger not biological reaction, but a chemical reaction. So the enzyme, which we have developed, which is a proprietary enzyme, triggers the reaction of depolymerizing PET. And that's the enzymatic recycling technology. We have another technology, which is the biorecycling on another polymer, which is PLA, polylactic acid, which is more modest today. Let's focus on this recycling. So the enzyme breaks down PET into the two monomers, making the PET, which are terephthalic acid on one side and ethylene glycol on the other side. So once you have those two monomers isolated, purified, you can recombine them to make plastics or fibers, again, same quality than virgin. So it seems easy. It's not that easy. Carbios has been created in 2011, and we don't have revenue still. So we are still living on equity. So we are burning cash today. We hope we'll generate revenue by 2025. We made the cover of Nature. We, not Carbios, of course. Nature is not a business journal, it's a scientific journal. So a team of scientists led by our CSO wrote an article which made the cover of Nature, which is a great achievement for us. In this paper, we described exactly what we did, how we have identified an enzyme which had some very, very low activity on depolymerizing PET so that the bacteria could use the carbon as a feedstock. But we have improved the activity of this enzyme by 40 times, perhaps, or 50 times, so big time, so that it becomes really an industrial tool to depolymerize PET at yields which are compatible with an industrial process. So everybody can reproduce what we did. And that was really the idea of publishing that, was first of all to gain some notoriety, of course, but also to really trigger some research so that we are challenged by other academics, which can improve the way we have developed our proprietary enzyme. And it's happening as I speak. We are still far in advance, but a lot of teams around the world are developing enzymes to depolymerize PET, and perhaps in the future other polymers. We also have the intention to develop other enzymes for other polymers, because we are very well conscious that PET is only one piece of the problem. It's not the only one. So I didn't really know what was the audience today, so I have a slide on what is an enzyme. I'm not sure it's really useful. I'm sure you all know what it is. So it's a combination of amino acids. What my CSO often says is that we have accelerated nature. He said plastics are in the environment for, let's say, 70, 80 years, perhaps. So it's too short for Darwin laws to apply and to select organisms which are able to eat plastics. So to generate enzyme which will break down plastics so that they can eat the carbon in the plastic. So it's too short, 70 years, 80 years. So what we've done is really to accelerate nature. So we started from a wild type of enzyme, as I said, with a very, very small activity. And we have improved this activity. We have changed even the shape of the enzyme so that the PET molecule can really dock onto the enzyme, the active site of the enzyme, to be depolymerized. We have optimized the temperature at which the enzyme works to be exactly at the border where between crystallization of PET, but we wanted also to take advantage of the Arrhenius law, which says that the more hot a reaction is and the more efficient it is. So the reaction happens at 72 degrees C. And that's for us, and for this enzyme, it's the optimum between Arrhenius law and recrystallization of PET. so that's exactly what we did during the last 10 years. And we are now moving with, towards industrialization. So you see on this picture, the docking site of the enzyme and the PT molecule. So it's exactly, it's well, let's say, adapted to these plastics. And that's why often I'm asked, okay, can we use your enzyme for polycarbonate or for polyurethane? I say no, an enzyme is extremely specific. And it's very specific because of that, because of the shape. So a polyurethane doesn't have the same shape than a polyester. And it's even very specific to this polyester, to PET. So if you try with PLA, it will not work as well. Or PBHT, it will not work. So it's extremely specific. So yes, it works. So from a combination of various plastics waste, different colors, different shape, crystalline, amorphous, opaque, so with a high content of pigment. With this process, PET is PET and will always be depolymerized. So it's really a move towards a circular economy. It's not reuse. Often, I fight a little bit against the word recycling, which is used widely, but often it's not really recycling, it's more reuse, which is good, but it is not a solution for the end of life of the material. If you think about mechanical recycling, for example, of plastics, like you take an old bottle, you grind it, you melt it, and you make another bottle. So it's recycling. Well, not exactly. It's reuse. You reuse the material. You do it 4 times, 5 times, and after that, you have to incinerate or to landfill your bottle because it's so damaged that you cannot use it anymore. And then to make a food contact approved material, you need as a feedstock a waste which was a food contact approved material. So it's very limited. Our process is not limited with any kind of PET waste. We can make any kind of PET product, whatever the color, whatever the food contact approval or not. So it really opens the way of recycling. We can use a t-shirt to make a bottle and a bottle to make a t-shirt. Whatever the color, whatever the crystallinity of the material. So today, we are more or less, yes, at international deployment, and we are designing, not building, but designing a big plant, which will start up in 2035, which will be the first and probably the only plant we will finance, because our model is to license the technology and to sell enzymes to our licensees. The good is that from the lab scale, so 250 milliliters, approximately even smaller than that, to the demo plant today, where we operate a 20 cubic meter reactor in Clermont-Ferrand, in France, we have the exact same kinetics of the reaction, of the hydrolysis reaction. It's very encouraging. There is no scale-up effect, as you could expect a scale-up effect in a chemical process. It's not our case. It's biology. It's relatively linear. So it's very encouraging. And we think that at industrial scale, reactors of perhaps 1,200 cubic meters, we will have the same kinetic than at 250 milliliters. So rapidly, so that's just, well, as I said, the plant will start up in 2025. Between today and 2025, we will be able to license the technology to other licensees, possibly, even without having started the plant. So it's an option we are pursuing. And at a later stage, we will study another enzyme for another polymer. So as I say, PET is the second largest polymer, but you see all those families, polypropylene, polyethylene, PVC, rubber, polycarbonates, it's wide open. So just a question of opportunity, financing, and partnerships. Talking about partnerships, We have some brand owners working with us, industrial partners like Novozymes, the world leader in the enzyme industry, Indorama, world leader in the PT industry, Technip, nice engineering companies. We have strategic shareholders like L'Oréal, Michelin, L'Occitane. So we have the right partnerships to really go towards industrialization and success. With that, thank you for your attention.